Hi, I'm Sean Dunn, and welcome to this episode of Origin to Ambition, the Entrepreneur's Journey. In this episode, I speak with Stuart Barnes. Stuart Barnes is an English cricketer. He played first-class cricket and has been an elite cricket coach for many, many years. He's the owner and founder of Stuart Barnes Consulting, and I think what you'll find very interesting in this episode is a lot of crossovers between elite coaching in sports and business and how that translates across to business operations, business ownership, and business mindset. So I think you'll really enjoy this one. So sit back and relax and enjoy this episode of Origin to Ambition. Welcome to Origin to Ambition, the show where we explore the small business entrepreneur's journey in business. I'm your host, Sean Dunn. Let's get into it. Stuart Barnes, welcome to Origin to Ambition, and I appreciate you being on this episode and having a chat with me.
Yeah, thanks. I've been looking forward to this one.
Good. This one's going to be a bit different for me as well. I think it might be a bit different for you, and I'm sure we're going to pull plenty of nuggets out of this. So I really do appreciate it. So I'm just going to dive straight into it. And can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background? I know a bit about your background, and I'm what they describe as a cricket tragic. So I'm sort of across that. But for those of our listeners who are not cricket tragics, can you take us through a bit of your background and before you stepped into running a consulting and coaching business?
Sure, yeah. So I'm now 55. When I was 18, 19, it was pretty clear that I had a lot of talent as a cricketer. I now, on reflection, view myself as in a very positive sense, a failed professional cricketer. By that, I mean highly talented, and we all know them, highly talented, low work ethic, poor habits. So my talent got me opportunities, open doors. But of course, you can only open so many doors before actually you've got to start having the other attributes to keep pushing and keep progressing. And I got found out after 2 years. I didn't know that when I was in it at the time. So after 2 years, it should have been a 12, 15-year professional playing career. Should have played for England. That's why we kept being told anyway.
Yeah.
But I thought that it was all quite easy because I was just relying on my talent. When it all finished after 2 years, I spent 2 or 3 years blaming everybody else for my the ending of my professional career. But then it coincided with me becoming a father for the first time, and I looked at myself in the mirror and suddenly thought, "This is all you, Stuart. It's nobody else's fault that you are no longer a professional cricketer." I was still playing at the time. But from that moment on, I vowed never to make the same mistakes again. So, yes, talent is one thing, but actually started getting my head around, okay, what is it I do want to do? What is the person I need to become in order to achieve that? And then all of a sudden started answering the questions of who do I need to be around? What are the habits, routines I need to in place? So I gave myself an aiming point and then worked out what needed to happen in order for me to become that person to achieve that, which I never did when I was playing. So I do see me as a failed professional cricketer in a very positive sense because since that time when I looked in the mirror, I can look back and it hasn't all been great. There's been lots of failures in there, which I think is a really important part of the journey. But actually, I look back with a lot of pride with who I have become. And now I coach to help people not make the same mistakes as I made when I had that opportunity in front of me as well. So that's at the core of my coaching philosophy. But in a nutshell, that's pretty much my origin story, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you take me through to the name of your consulting business, if we call it that?
Yeah, it's Stuart Barnes Consulting. It is a limited company. It's one of those where I don't consider myself to be anything other than Stuart Barnes. I've got some knowledge. Some people would see it as expertise. I guess I do as well to a certain degree. But I've got something that I believe is of interest and in demand. And I kind of yeah, okay, Stuart Barnes consulting. Never been a consultant before. Well, let's give it a go, sort of thing. So that's that's who I'm kind of operating at. There's a Stuart Barnes culture coaching element to it, which is a heavy part of it. But I'm
Yeah.
interested in some other areas, in expanding into a couple of other areas as well. But that's pretty much the business.
So what inspired you to start to, like, it may seem obvious to someone who's played sport, but what inspired you to start a coaching consulting business?
Well, what inspired me to coach was an old primary school teacher who I'm still in contact with now. I think that through life we stumble into, spend time with people that are inspirational, give us energy. We hang on their every words. And it's not everybody, but there's something about these people that come along every now and then. And Mr. Heywood at Fossway Primary School in Bath was, I didn't know at the time, was my first coach.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything. It wasn't technical. Wasn't tactical. He was just a teacher in the classroom, but he was also a bloody good sports coach. And it was sport really that I felt the most confident in. On the grass, football, bit of rugby, cricket. And it was Mr. Heywood. So he was my first inspiration. And then through playing cricket as a youngster, I started working with a number of other coaches, some of which I didn't connect with, and that's fine. That happens. But those that I did, I absorbed everything as a player. And I didn't know it at the time, but it just kind of sticks with you. What the people and the things that they say and they do and they lead by example sticks with you. And so I am who I am now today because of all the people that I've encountered on that journey. I don't get it right all the time. And I think that's really important. Put yourself in situations where you do fail because you understand then there's still more to add. But Mr. Heywood was the first one, and I was only 10 years old. But looking back, he was the first one that inspired me to become a coach at some point in the future, and that's exactly what happened.
So can you put your finger on a point where coaching became more than just coaching cricket and actually becoming a business, really, and sort of evolved, if you know what I'm sort of getting at? Like, coaching's one thing, but evolving it into a consulting business. Was there sort of a pivotal time that occurred?
There's no doubt in my mind that the person that kind of opened my eyes to that and gave me the curiosity to lean into that was John Bracewell. Now, John Bracewell, I was already a coach by then, so my playing career had finished.
Yeah.
John Bracewell was first team coach at Gloucestershire. This is before he became New Zealand head coach.
Yeah.
And John was an inspiration to Gloucestershire. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, we started winning one-day trophies and all that kind of stuff. But what John instilled in me was he had done some leadership consulting for a company called Leading Teams. That I'm not even sure if they've made it into the Northern Hemisphere, but they're certainly big in Australia.
Yeah.
And New Zealand. And so John would do things like, I want you to read this book, not just the coach or me, but the whole squad. I want you to read this book called Leading Teams.
Yeah.
Don McLean, I think. And then he would say, right, now I want you to buy this book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Lencioni. And so he would do that. So you'd read it. And then when you're in the same room as John, we would talk about it and pull out the lessons. It wasn't about bowling the ball, hitting the ball. It was about teamship and how teams, high performing teams operate and what are the key attributes in every team, whether it's in the boardroom or whether it's on the cricket field.
Yeah.
And so John was definitely undoubtedly the person that really opened my eyes to there is more to life than a cricket field, a bag of cricket balls. There was that. And the other thing that John gave me, and this was his gift to me, and I've since learned he's given this gift to many other people, players that he's worked with, and that was the gift of ambition. And so John was unrelenting in saying, no, Barnes, what is it that you want to achieve? What is it? And nobody ever did that when I was a player.
Yeah.
And John just kept pushing, and we had coffees together. I consider him a good friend. And I ended up with an aiming point of becoming the England fast bowling coach. And as soon as I got that point, then it became, what are the systems that you need in place? What do you need to do to become that person? Because you're not that person at the moment. You're an assistant coach at Gloucestershire.
Yeah.
So if you're already that person, you'd already be the England fast bowling coach, is the kind of journey that we went on. So undoubtedly, Sean, the point was John Bracewell, the gift of ambition, and just leaning into my curiosity itch of consulting, whatever it's called, but things outside of the cricket field to help me grow. That was it.
Yeah. So would you credit him then with the not the idea specific, but the push to commercialize, like what you do?
Looking back, yes. At the time, I didn't really know what was going on. I think there's more to getting up in the morning than just looking after the bowling group. There's more to it. You need to become a leader in certain ways to resonate and inspire that person in your bowling group. And actually you put a slightly different hat on to work with that person and truly connect with that person in your bowling group. Yeah. The other point that I would say is COVID, the pandemic, because we all had a lot of time on our hands, and I was thinking, and I was bowling coach at Somerset at the time. Of course, we all spent a lot of time at home, and with time, you're thinking, what am I going to do with this additional time? So that is when I then created a website, started marketing, inviting people to send me their bowling videos.
Yeah.
And I would get an online call with them, and I'd go through it. And then I thought, so there's something in this. So it began with COVID, and it began with the simple things of inviting people to send me their bowling videos. And then since then, was that 6 years ago? It's become a little bit more than that. I've set up programs, tiered programs, now becoming a leadership management coach almost at the end of that qualification. So that was the point really where I kind of pulled the trigger on all these things I'd learned previous to that, really.
I'm always interested in this type of story because I've spoken to a lot of, and I my financial advisory business deals with small business owners, and a lot of them do fall into the sport coaching category, and I find it interesting that oftentimes it's the business owner that's kind of fallen into the business ownership, if that makes sense. Like almost they're really good at a particular skill set, and they've got a passion for that skill set, and it almost accidentally occurs that it becomes a commercial, enterprise and endeavor. And so it kind of, and tell me if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it kind of feels a bit like that's how it evolved for you. You were coaching, and then, then it just kind of grew from that, and rather than you setting out to coach to run a business.
Throughout my life, and I think in most people's lives, if they truly kind of sit back and reflect, we kind of bounce around it with opportunities that are in front of us.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things. I've got 2 young boys, and I will encourage them to try everything, do everything, try everything, say yes, give it a crack, because it's only then, what we're here for. I truly believe that, we can design it as much as we want. We might actually be here for a completely different reason. And so by giving everything a crack, you'll hit upon something that you think, actually, this feels good. I'm really curious about that. Actually, I'm pretty good at this. So you're right. I didn't design it. I didn't design coaching. I only started coaching right the way back all those years ago because I knew I was good at cricket and I knew that I loved the game and I couldn't play the game professionally anymore. Let's give it a crack, sort of thing. So that's the only reason why I'm in coaching, and I guess because it was the only thing I knew, and then it kind of works from there. Really, I didn't know that coaching was my thing, but yeah, I think you're right. I think in most cases, you don't necessarily design it exactly. You might have a bit of an idea, but then it kind of appears somewhere, and you lean into it. Really.
Yeah. And so then do you find after you've gone into this endeavor, that you use your experience in sport and coaching and then therefore as a good coach you're leading, or if you're a good coach, I presume you're a good leader. That's how I see it. Do you then start to realize that you start applying those principles and that mindset to your business? Like even if you didn't design it as a business, you then start to say, oh, well, hold on, what I need to do is, and you sort of then systemize things, and like you probably would when you're trying to coach an elite athlete.
I just going back to your comment there about my experience, not all coaches are great leaders.
Okay.
We all, my experience is, we don't know we lead, we just do stuff. But when you're up in front of a group of players or even one individual, if you have an influence, if you become, however you get there in a position of influence, all of a sudden you become a leader. Now you take a player that's had a successful playing career and they do it their way. That is the only way that they know.
Yeah.
And I think geniuses, majority of them are geniuses because they are blinkered and they're bloody good at something and they do it their way. Not necessarily all of them. Some are. Not all of them are open-minded with their eyes wide about, okay, that's how they do it. Maybe I need to do that sort of thing. And lots of people only do it their way. So a player that's had a successful playing career, not all of them necessarily have the language skills. Saying less is more, the value of silence, the value of questioning, the value of being seen in the gym, because leading by example and physically, I'm asking you to do something really physical and it hurts some of it. But you know what? Without me saying anything, I'm gonna do it as well. So you can see me willing to put myself through everything I'm asking you to do. So not every coach, I think, is a great leader. I started in primary schools. So I started with a bunch of 8-year-olds, 38-year-olds, as part of the grounding of my coaching career. But that, on reflection, it was bloody hard work.
Yeah.
But on reflection, planning, simple language, organization, the right kit, being there on time, having presence, inspiring, having fun, engaging with everybody. You only kind of learn those skills by being on the coalface. And this is where I think that I am grateful now. Whilst it was hard work at the time, I'm grateful now that I worked at that level for a couple of years and then progressed up through. And then at the same time, I was improving my knowledge of bowling because really, I was a good bowler, but I didn't know how I did what I did. So surround myself with good people. What are the people or the groups that I can surround myself with that make it uncomfortable for me, challenge me? Where are the environments that is high challenge, high support? But, and you're right. Leadership is not micromanaging. And I've come across a lot of coaches that do that. Leadership is empowering.
Do you mind if I jump in, Stuart? So,
yeah,
because a lot of the things you just said about leadership, so they're the things I would say are part of being a good coach, not just a coach. So I think an exceptional coach is a leader, is what I would say. But I'd also be interested because I think everything you just said applies in business and like even corporate life. I mean, I think executives and managers probably should exhibit the characteristics and the listening skills and the I can do this work too. I'm asking you to do something that I can and will do. That they're very transferable to business. I would argue.
Yeah.
Is that your
And
experience?
so I used to work for Barclays Bank years and years ago. I've not really had a lot of exposure to the corporate world, business world, but I'm married to Emily, who worked in London City for a while, and so we talk about stuff. And it's very clear to me that maybe there is, in some businesses, a lack of leadership. Maybe there's a lack of clarity of what leadership is, because it's not managing. It's not, you get somebody in front of you. What are their strengths? How can we use their strengths in the business sense? And this is the task I want you to do. I trust you to do it. Go and do it your own way. Report back into me periodically. That's all I ask you to do. But absolutely, I think that I look back now, and I didn't know it at the time. All of this stuff over the last 27 years at professional level, starting at primary schools and also kind of international World Cup finals and all this kind of stuff. I didn't know it at the time, but I'm absorbing all of these observations and habits and language and good leadership and poor leadership, good behavior, poor behavior, and they absolutely go on everywhere in the world, whether you're in an office or whether you're on a sports ground, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I was also interested in something you just said around having a team around you, so pushing you and prodding you and forcing you to grow. I guess I'm trying to translate this across to business. A lot of the people listening to this will be business owners or aspiring business owners, and we always talk about having the right team in place before you start. Now, that's easier said than done if you haven't got a lot of money to spend on having a team, and you might have to lean into your contacts and your networks necessarily. But did you do that for did you see that you were doing that when you were sort of starting into this consulting coaching world that you're in?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things there. One is, I believe as soon as you become clearer on what it is you want to do, then working out who is already good at what you want to do, connect with them.
Yeah.
Because my experience of most people, if you reach out to them and ask them questions, they actually, they're quite grateful for you to reach out, and you get a lot of good free information and knowledge just by reaching out to people. So it's if you're clear or you're interested in looking at a certain angle, who are the people already doing what you're doing? Get close to them. And the other thing that I would highly recommend, and this is something that I have paid for along the way, but most of it is just is free advice, is having your own personal coach.
Yeah.
Somebody that we all know people, all right, some of which are good friends. I would avoid good friends, and I would kind of gravitate towards having a conversation with somebody that makes me slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that ask you the tough questions, that get you to dig deep. And by shying away from those people, you could be missing out on scraping away some layers that you may be protecting yourself from. What are you not doing that you should be doing or looking at? What do you avoid doing? What are the questions you are avoiding asking yourself in order to become better and grow? So I having a coach or coaches is definitely another option that I would highly recommend for people.
Yeah, that's excellent. We talk about entrepreneurs. To be successful, you have to be looking to always grow. Grow your mind, grow your experience. Just a growth mindset, which I know is a bit cliched, but it's a cliche for a reason. And that's what you're saying. Get that person who's going to prod you, and you grow through discomfort. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the person. Yeah, you don't want your best mate that you're going to go down the pub and have a pint with, and they're going to say, yeah, mate, everything's good, don't worry.
Yeah.
You want that
Yeah.
person who's, pushing you and
Yeah.
prodding you.
Yeah. And my experience of good mates is that if not all the time, they wouldn't do it intentionally necessarily, but if you're good mates with somebody and they can see you growing and changing, it could make them uncomfortable because you're not the same person as them anymore. And so, family members are absolute classics.
Yeah.
Where now, what do you want to do that for? What do you want to? Oh, it's risky doing that sort of thing. So lots of people unintentionally, maybe even subconsciously, want you to stay at the same level as them because it will show them up, their weaknesses up. So that's something just to be aware of. I'm not saying that family members and really good mates are doing stuff like that intentionally, but that is why have your antenna up, have a conversation with people. And if you feel uncomfortable or if they're asking you questions about you and your antenna is kind of alarm bells a little bit, lean into it because they might be the person you need.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. I think that's great advice. We often talk about with businesses and business owners finding success through finding a niche in whatever it is that they do. And your niche seems to be fast bowling when you talk about coaching. Is that fair?
That's definitely been the vehicle and probably always will be. But then I start asking the questions, well, what makes a fast bowler? It's what we see on the park in front of 50,000 people is the consequence of everything that has happened when nobody else is watching.
Yeah.
The person, the habits, what happens the day before, the week before, what's 6 months prior to that as well. So yes, the vehicle was fast bowling, but then the person that is the fast bowler is definitely something that I am as much interested, if not more interested, because without that person, you haven't got the fast bowler. But you could apply that to anybody, the COO. Who is the best in the world? Well, why are they best? What's the avatar? Piecing that together. So it's the same sort of process. And I reckon it's only over the last 10 years, maybe, I've looked at it from a slightly different angle. So yes, fast bowling for sure, but it's the ingredients that go into that you can apply everywhere, really.
Sean Dunn here, and thank you for watching this episode of Origin to Ambition, the Entrepreneur's Journey. I'm a financial advisor who specialises in working with small business entrepreneurs and high-income earning executives. We analyse cash flow, build assets, and protect those assets to help our clients do what they want, when they want, with the people that they want to do it with. So if that's of interest to you, head over to our website and book an initial discovery call, and I'd look forward to speaking with you. So would you agree that your niche or your initial niche, so how you started, gave you that traction and momentum early, and then give you that time and space to expand, into the areas you're talking about?
Yeah. So my mission is when I worked at the Oval, and I've been so fortunate to work at a number of environments and organisations. We used to walk up into the team room, and outside the team room was a plaque, "Simplicity is genius," and that has stuck with me because there are so many people out there in the world. I guess it's coincided with the boom in social media. Complexity is the enemy of growth, because if you get too detailed, you don't move anywhere because you got bogged down in the weeds. And so simplicity is genius. So my mission is, it definitely gave me traction because I have a lot of insecurities like everybody else. And my vulnerability is a lack of confidence. People are really interested in what I've done over 27 years.
Yeah.
World Cup final against India. Working with Peterson, Ponting, Amler, and all the other really, really good people and cricketers. So people are really interested in what I've done. And so my My mission is simplicity is genius. I don't complicate anything. I've had exposure to elite level, but my mission is to bang away at the perception that it's only the knowledge that I've got is only available at the elite level. My mission is to work with as many people as possible, whatever age, ability, level they are playing at, and give them those insights in a way that they know this is how it applies to them at their level. So that's my kind of niche, and getting to know the person. So my additional qualifications: NLP, master practitioner, the way the brain works, behaviors. That I find that fascinating. I read books, and this leadership management course. I'm really, really interested in working with business leaders or anyone within business. Yes, of course, talking about the insights from the sporting team, but you're absolutely right. That then applies to the corporate and business world as well. But fast bowling is the vehicle for sure. And then it's everything else alongside that.
Yeah, absolutely. You just said something that interested me there, that you said your vulnerability was lack of confidence. And that can happen to anyone. And we're all lacking confidence at some point in some circumstance. What do you do or did you do to overcome that and use it, if you use it, to propel yourself forwards?
Honesty with myself. I don't think I'm good enough is the catalyst for I'm going to do more preparation than anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn more than anybody else. I'm going to learn how to speak, so I, for a long time, until recently, because we've recently moved, Toastmasters, standing up in front of a group of people used to frighten the life out of me. And yet I've done it for 20 odd years in front of teams. But okay, how can I do it better? What's the language I am saying without the verbal language, my body language? How can I use that to my advantage? So insecurity, am I good enough, is the catalyst for I'm going to look at things at a different angle to everybody else. I'm not going to rely on me being me. I'm going to become a better person, whatever better looks like. I'm going to keep growing. And I think that started when I looked at myself in the mirror saying, I cannot keep blaming everybody else. It's me. This is my fault. And now never making the same mistake again. I actually quite like the fact that deep inside, my belief is, am I good enough to do this? Because that is the driver to keep pushing forwards.
Yeah.
So that's, if that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fascinated with this because, and I'm sorry to keep referencing business, but I see great parallel. It's actually, again, it's why I wanted to talk to you on this podcast, because in fact, I don't want to go. So this is my problem, Stuart. Once I go down a rabbit hole, I'll just keep. I'll keep going. So there's a couple of things. So I do see great parallels, and the one thing I wanted to say or explore just off what you just said is sometimes I encounter business owner clients who have got, in what I see in their business, they don't see. And they've got the core of a really good business. They're good at what they do, but they need to shift their behavior to become more successful. And success is different for everyone. I'm not talking about them becoming multi-millionaires and, global tycoons or anything like that, but talking about making sure that they're comfortable with that, sending their 2 kids to the school that they wanted to go to and paying off the mortgage at home, just success for them. But sometimes there's that resistance to change. And I think that lack of confidence often plays into that. But do you have any insights from your practices about how you get past that stage? Because you said yourself there, I just sort of looked at myself and said, well, I can't blame anyone else for this. This is on me now. I just did an examination nearly 2 months ago in New Zealand, and I spent 8 weeks with a fear of failure. Like that's probably my weakness is I can't stand the idea of trying something and failing sort of thing. So I'm almost like scared to fail. So I'll work hard type thing. But how do you get someone, I'm just keen on your insights because I think this applies in businesses equally in sport, in business, life.
So the business equivalent and what you've just said there, I cast my mind back to reading a book called Hunger in Paradise. Now, Hunger in Paradise gave a number of examples of businesses that just say, nah, this is the way we've always done it. We're successful. This is just the way we're going to continue doing. So the example they gave was Nokia back in the 80s, 90s or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were warned about this company from the US called Apple. And the iPhone. No, this is just the way we're all going to. So that was very much closed thinking. Nah, nobody's going to touch us. We got X billions in the bank, all this kind of stuff. And the book Hunger in Paradise is an interesting one because it just gives example after example of stubbornness.
Yeah.
Where, no, this is who we are. This is what we're going to continue doing. And yet, even back then and throughout the history of mankind, there are threats everywhere and we need to be open to that. So just because what works now doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work in next year or 5 years' time, because the world is changing quicker now than ever before.
Yeah.
And so, and Nokia now is no more, because no, this is the way we do things around here. We just can continue to do it. Apple, yeah, we've seen it before. They're a fad. They come and go sort of thing. The cricket equivalent would be something like, you've seen the advent of T20. I want to play in the IPL. This is a player, I want to play in the IPL. Well, you're not currently playing in the IPL. So what needs to change? What do you need to add? What do you need to take away in order for you to become that player to do well here in the T20 Blast here in the UK, go to the Big Bash, play franchise tournaments in order to perform well on those sort of wickets against those sort of players and get drafted in the IPL. Yeah, but I know I need to bowl quicker. What do I need to do that? Well, you probably need to train differently, train like a sprinter, tweak your action, break your action down, and then build it back up, sort of thing. Yeah. But I've got this other, I haven't got enough time for that sort of thing. So in my experience, there is often a lot of chat about evolving and change, but it can be quite frightening for people. And there's, because they need to do something different and they might be comfortable doing what they're doing, especially if they're successful. I'll give you one more example. Chris Wokes, I had the pleasure of working with him, not very often actually, because he was on England duty. 2 weeks before he was traveling with England to the World Cup in India, 50 over World Cup in India, 2 weeks before that, he came to me and said, right, I really feel that my in-swinging just needs a little bit of work. I'm not quite happy with it. And we just played about the stuff. We call it a go mad session. Let's like strip everything down. And we had a number of sessions close to him getting on the plane to that World Cup where he was still looking to add to his game. So adding to his game is basic changing. He was open to change, which is the reason why you get these people that stay at the very top end of the game, the very top end of the CEOs of business and all that kind of stuff, because they are open to tweaking who they are and what they do in order to stay ahead of the evolving kind of businesses they might be working in. So change can be frightening for some people, and that's okay. But don't say we need to do this. And again, and then leading by example.
Yeah.
Being open to changing in order to show your team who you are influencing that it's okay to change and do things differently. As long as you don't lose the core of, the values of the organization and all this kind of stuff. Of course, that stays the same, but how you do it, they can be tweaked.
I think you talked about fear of change there, and and I was sort of referencing it along the lines of lack of confidence, and maybe they're similar. I'm not confident to change. I'm scared of change, I guess. Um, is there a point where you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink? Like if the person's not ready, they're just not ready. I mean, you can tell someone all day long you need to change, or let's change this, or let's try that, and let's try and improve you over here because you could improve. So as an advisor, I can see the future of the. I'm not Nostradamus, by the way. I don't mean, but I can see that in their future there's real, there's real improvement that could be had just by making a couple of changes here and there. But some people are really resistant, and I just find that you can't butt heads. You have to that person has to come to that in their own time. And I'm relating that back to an athlete, I guess.
Yeah. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. So you're right. This is where, and I'm really enjoying this qualification I'm taking because it's all about. I thought I'd been coaching for 27 years, but actually, for the majority, I've been mentoring. I've been trying to come up with solutions for people's problems. Pure coaching is listening and asking the right question. Asking questions. Is somebody prepared to kind of be uncovered by their own beliefs, their own attitudes, looking at themselves? Because if they're not ready for change. But if they do have to be ready to answer your question. You can have as many sessions with somebody as they want, but unless they are truly open, then you can't really get anywhere. People say, fear is an interesting one, isn't it? Because that's deep-rooted beliefs. How do you change deep-rooted beliefs? Well, you go all the way back. We're not born with fear. It starts somewhere.
Yeah.
So you have to go all the way back, take someone on a journey all the way back to find out when that belief around change, fear of change, started, and go back to that, take them back to that point and try and work out, well, what were the choices? How do they make you feel? Why did you feel that? Well, given the same situation again, what could you do differently? How would you feel about that? And then, so it is possible to change beliefs around fear and change in order for that person to become different about how they feel about themselves. Yeah, it's difficult really to break somebody down in order for them to understand what they could become through change unless they're ready for it, for sure.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, what I was going to say before was you wrote something and I'd sent you a message about it at the time where you talked about fixing just one thing. So focus on one thing and just fix one thing. And I think I said at the time, I messaged you to say, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to steal that and use it as in my financial advice business because I found with clients I'd pick. I used to say pick the top three things. So I tried not to make it complex, in terms of, because if you look at the things that can be fixed financially for people, you can oftentimes come up with 20, 25 different things that could be fixed, and I say, look, let's just pick the top three that are the most important. But I distilled it down to one based off you. So you've coached me as well, Stuart. That's
that's nice to know. Yeah. From a distance.
Yeah, from a distance. Do you still think that that's a relevant? Do you still coach that? Like, pick the one thing that needs fixing, or
I do.
Yeah, you do. Yep.
I do. And I wish, and this is an insight into me now, I wish that I heeded my own advice. This is the thing about, I don't consider myself to be an entrepreneur, by the way.
I was going to ask you about that, Stuart.
Yeah.
If I was a betting man, I was going to say, I bet you don't see yourself as an entrepreneur. But
no, I don't. I'm self-employed now. And I like being self-employed now.
Yeah.
Because it gives me choices. However, it almost pushes more pressure on because there's bills to pay and the the mistake that I often make every single day, and this is where I've got alerts that come up on my phone. What's the one thing today? How you going with it? You've got another 2 hours before the school run. Stick with the one thing. Or I don't always stick by that. And what happens is I try and do too many things, which then means I don't do anything.
Yes.
That they're all bloody half finished. They're all half finished. And so I coach, and I've got a coaching call this evening. And I'm sending a message earlier on. Have a think before the call. What's the one thing you want from that call? But here I am with my kind of to-do list with like 12 different things. And that's fine. But I don't always heed my own advice, and I try and do a lot of things, and I don't finish anything, which is a massive, massive mistake, because then I go to bed with a lot of open loops, and it keeps me awake at night. And I'm at that age where I need a 3 p.m. tea now. And so when I get up and I try to go back to sleep, I can't go back to sleep because these open loops are still, and so, okay, what's the system I need to close those loops? Okay, well, I'll do that. So the one thing is probably a superpower that I wish I was better at. And those days that I write down in the morning, this is the one thing that I'm absolutely going to nail today. And I execute on that without looking at anything else. Those are my most productive days.
Would you say, I mean, look, I'm the same. I run my own business. I've got a to-do list, that runs across 2 pages, right? So that's just the way it works. What I try to do is to pick the one thing on the list that has to happen first, and then just try to, I was going to say obsess. Maybe it is obsessing, but I try to work on that one thing until it's finished and off the list so that I can move to the next thing, because I find I'm a little bit the same. I try to do multiple things at the same time. Nothing finishes. So I try to systematically work through that list. Is that the thing you wish you had of when you first started on this endeavor? And I do think you're an entrepreneur, because if you're self-employed, by definition, I call you an entrepreneur. So I'm going to say you're an entrepreneur. But is that one of the things you wish you had have known earlier, that your own advice is probably...
Yeah, for sure. I think because I'm a cricket coach and have been a cricket coach, I want to measure what matters. I wear this Aura ring, and it gives me a reader every morning. It's often reassuring, because those times when I think I'm awake, I'm actually in light sleep, and it gives me my sleep score, and it's worked out that I'm a morning person. So now, I always thought I was, but now I know that. I know, outside of this call, what I would normally do is drop the boys off at school, go straight to the gym, come here. This is my new office whilst we're commuting to Birmingham, and then back up to Leicester, and then get straight in. What's the difficult challenge I need to address straight away? What's the thing I've been avoiding? Do the one thing, because this Aura ring has given me, I thought I was, and now it's told me in no uncertain terms, you are a morning person. That's when your energy is the most, your focus is the best. So therefore, do the most difficult task first thing in the morning. Do that, and then if you've got enough time, you can go on to the second thing. So yes, I wish I did know that. But it's those days where you get to the end of the day, and I'm reflecting, and I think, have I just been busy, or have I been productive? And I've had a lot of busy days. The productive days are becoming more and more, and they are undoubtedly linked to what's the one thing I need to do, and then move on and execute on that. Absolutely.
I think that's a fantastic piece of advice for anyone in business, to be perfectly honest, to operate that way. Stuart, where do you see this consulting business of yours in the next 5 to 10 years?
Don't know what it's going to look like, but the reason for me to do it is to buy back some time. So family is really important to me. I'm on my second marriage. I wouldn't change anything. I've got 4 children across 2 marriages. Eldest one is 31. Youngest is 3. So they're keeping me busy.
Yeah.
The reason I'm doing what I'm doing is to free up my time to have those choices.
Yeah.
When I'm in the business, I want to be working and directing the business as opposed to properly in the business all the time. So I'm in the process now of setting up systems, procedures, diarising stuff. So I know, can I be disciplined enough? This is this block. This is when I message these clients every day because they're on that tier program. This is when I follow up on that. Now it's family time, being disciplined, only looking at my phone during phone times. I want to be in the room if I'm in the room. I will now no longer pick up calls, answer WhatsApp or messages or emails unless it's in the allocated time. So I don't know what consultancy is going to look like, but I do know that I've had enough time of trading my time for money, which is what being employed does. I do know that I feel that what I've picked up about people, not just fast bowling, but people, there is a massive opportunity for me to add value to many more people outside of the cricket field than ever before. And that is my mission.
I love it. I was actually going to ask you whether you would see yourself directly coaching, and maybe you still will where you want to, but whether you were looking to build a framework and a broader set of programming, and what you're talking about there is being a business owner, not so much the operator going forwards.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really interested in the business coaching element. Where is somebody now? What's their starting point? So anybody that wants to reach out to me, I hope they do. Where are they now? Where do they want to be? And then piecing together that journey to help them become the person they need to be in order to achieve that goal, whether it's a seen position or whether it's becoming a better husband, father, director, whatever it might be. That is something I'm really interested in. I guess I've done a little bit already as part of this course, giving away free coaching. I've really, really enjoyed a slightly different angle. And that is definitely something I'd look to kind of add to this consultancy.
No, I love it. If you could pick one or two things, and how much of an elite sports mindset do you think can translate directly into business?
I think all of it. Let's take out sports. Elite mindset. Well, what the hell is that? It's actually a mindset that anybody can have if they understand it and if they are willing to look at where they are right now.
Yeah.
What is elite? Well, I think elite is being willing to change and working with somebody that can help them do that.
Yep.
And they might work with somebody for a period of time, and then they might move on to somebody else who can give them something different. But elite, I think, you take out the sports, I think it absolutely is possible. But first of all, you need the first step to that is recognizing that they need to maybe look at things slightly differently. Yep. The second part is talking about it. The third part is finding the right person that can help them do that and to hold them accountable. So I think, sport, what I've learned on the sports field and what I've also learned, because don't forget that I've been to business functions, I've sat on tables with, perceived high power positions in the corporate world. We're all the same. We're all the same. Yeah. So you can absolutely incorporate all of that.
Often talk about with people that I see as high performance. So not sport, and they are the growth mindset people. They're people that are always looking to grow and happy to, explore discomfort in order to achieve growth. But one of the things I talk about is that for people who wish to be self-employed, that they understand the rules of the game. So before they start. So in other words, understand that, I'm going to have to change. I'm going to, if they want success. So if they want to achieve what they want to achieve, and again, I say success is different for all different people. Different people have got different goals. So, their success is not necessarily my success, but they understand the rules of the game, or they at least try to learn the rules of the game before they play, if you know what I mean. And that's part of, I think, what you're saying there is, they're willing to grow, willing to get the right people, and so on and so forth. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I guess there are some rules, or there's some principles. Success, you're right, could be anything. If success could be running losing 10 stone. That is success. Success isn't always, money, material type stuff. Success could be just wanting to become a better husband, a better father, whatever it might be. But I think that by recognizing that, and then having the willingness to kind of step into how could I do that, is open to anybody. It really is.
Yeah. Does that lead into, I ask all of my guests this one question, Stuart. Do you think entrepreneurship is for everybody?
Yeah, I do. If I can do it, anybody can. And you're talking to a little boy that was born in a village just outside of Bath, played for a local village cricket team, have gone through a bit of a whole journey of my parents are amazing people. They're heroes of mine. But they were in an era where, you go to school, you do this, you do that, you speak like that. And actually, I think we're in an era of living by your values, your personal values, treating people in a way that you expect to be treated, but actually working out what success looks like to you. And it doesn't always have to be in an employed environment. You can, like I've been an entrepreneur alongside. Lots of people think I've had fingers in a lot of pies for bloody years, and they're probably right. But I've just been curious about, well, if I get home and I listen to this podcast and I start looking at that, I read that book, is that entrepreneurism? Probably, because I'm just open to seeing things slightly differently. And now I'm looking to, of course, monetize it, of course. Yeah. But if you've got a skill, and that skill just could be being open to change, becoming different, becoming better, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
But I do honestly believe I am living proof. And I don't consider myself to be an entrepreneur, like I said earlier on. If an entrepreneur is wanting to help people, understanding that everybody is different, so I then need to have the skills of adapting my style, my energy to that person in order to help them, then absolutely I'm an entrepreneur. And I just think that, helping people, giving away free information, based on your experience. If that's entrepreneurism, we are all entrepreneurs. We just need to kind of understand what that looks like to us right now. And is it something you do more of or less of? But I do think it's open to everybody for sure.
I can't think of a better place to conclude our conversation, Stuart. I think that's a great line. And I'm going to finish there because I think you are the first guest I've had who said yes to that question straight off the bat. So
really?
Yeah. So you are unique. You are unique on that one.
Well, that's an interesting one. It is an interesting one because as soon as you asked it, I was thinking, well, if I can be, everyone can.
No. Well, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I think that broadly people would say no, is what the broad response will be. And then a few people will stop and think and say something to the effect of, you can be if you want to be, you can learn it. So that's another response, but you are the first. You are the absolute first to say straight away almost without even hesitation to say yes to that question. And I think
I hope I followed it up with a decent explanation.
You did. And I think if anyone's listening to this and they want to do this and they want to start a business, whatever that might be, or they want to start a service or a product or whatever it might be, I hope that gives them the inspiration to pursue their dreams, Stuart. So I really appreciate it.
Good. No, I've enjoyed it. It's been a bit different, and I enjoy jumping on things like this that gets me thinking as well. And in the past, I've made the mistake of doing too much prep, and it's not come across as, I don't think it's come across as being truly authentic, which is why I've started jumping into these, having a kind of a broad background, but then just chatting.
Yep.
So,
I've loved it.
Yes.
Stuart Barnes, thank you very much for being on this episode of Origin to Ambition with me.
No, absolutely. Thank you for the invite, and thank you for reaching out.
Thanks very much, Stuart. Thank you very much.
No problem.
And that's all for this episode of Origin to Ambition. Thanks for tuning in. To make sure you don't miss our next conversation, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen in. For more information, you can visit us at dominiumcapital.com.au, and we'll see you next time.